So what does that look like when we do reach, the point of no return? I actually just went down to the gold and silver shop earlier this week, a local business here, and I said, "Hey man, the spot's like $22 an ounce. Can I get some silver?" Like, "Oh yeah, sure, we got silver, but it'll be actually a minimum. The lowest price we have is $29 per ounce." Like, what do you mean seven plus dollars over spot? Where do you get that number? Oh well, nobody can get physical silver right now. So what does it look like when this all blows up? I mean, do prices go sky high? Does the government start confiscating? I mean, this is going to be a big mess. Huh? What is it going to look like if you have any idea?
Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics, live in Mexico. And for today's show, quite proud and privileged to be able to share an interview I recently did with Alex Newman on the libertysentinel.org website. Great Freedom Channel. And Alex is really one of the heroes out there in my mind, especially. I know a lot of people are very concerned with the vaccine action and the COVID mandates that are going around, and really how a lot of this stuff seems orchestrated and planned. And Alex is one of the people who's been standing up and asking questions, similar to how everyone in the Arcadia community has been doing so in silver manipulation. And in fact, Alex actually has been digging into silver manipulation himself for about a decade, which is why it was really special to be invited onto his show. Someone I really admire and respect. I think you guys will enjoy the call, and here we go.
Found out Ashley Biden had left her diary there, and somehow that diary made its way to James O'Keefe. So instead of raiding journalists for inadvertently coming into possession of Ashley Biden's diary that appears to have incriminating evidence about her father, maybe we ought to start asking questions about her father. And how is it that at least 2 out of 3 of Joe Biden's kids end up as crackheads? I don't know. These are all questions that somebody ought to answer. All right, guys, I want to go to our guest now. His name is Chris Marcus. He is a silver analyst. He's the founder of Arcadia Economics. He is a silver talk show, maybe the most popular silver talk show host in the world. He's also the author of the book, The Big Silver Short. He's become a friend of mine. He worked 11 years on Wall Street. He's got an MBA from Wharton School of Business. Spent 7 years trading equity options for Susquehanna International Group as a specialist on the American and New York stock exchanges. But after finding out about what he calls the greatest story never told, hidden deep beneath the surface of the silver market, Chris decided to leave Wall Street in 2012 and form Arcadia Economics. He wanted market participants to know what everybody has a right to know about what is going on in the silver market. Chris, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. He is joining us live from somewhere south of the border, having a great time down there. Chris, it's great to have you. So tell us, what is going on in the silver market? We all want to know.
Well, Alex, it's great to be here. Great to see you again, as always. And I think in your intro, you raised the key question, which people are starting to wonder, where we see record inflation prints. I mean, it's almost been turned into a cartoon, yet you see the price of silver dropping. And the short version is what you've reported on yourself for over a decade, about how for every ounce of silver, at least in the book that I wrote a couple of years ago, the consensus was greater than 500 claims for each physical ounce. I can't even imagine, with all the derivatives and leverage that are piled on a daily basis, what that number is actually at now. But I mean, it's been pretty clear, probably since when they started this scheme, if you mark it back to the Federal Reserve in 1913 or even before then, as we've seen every currency in history unfold this same way. I think these guys know it. You're just seeing the final looting. When you wake up and you see the price of silver drop 50 cents, well, inflation hits 10%. That's not that people are out there actually selling physical gold or silver. You have the trading on the COMEX, and these guys who we've caught on the record and now has been submitted as evidence, and soon the senators that approve, the CFTC commissioners, everyone who is near it will get a confirmed receipt of a copy. And so once they understand these things, you see, okay, you can stop people out of their trades, hammer these things in the COMEX, drive the price down, but that doesn't avoid the fact that basically the U.S. has run out of money. It seems we've reached that point, and certainly it seems to me as if we're approaching that resolution in the silver market. How soon that actually unfolds, but it looks like it is not a stable situation there right now.
So what does that look like when we do reach, the point of no return? I actually just went down to the gold and silver shop earlier this week, a local business here, and I said, hey man, the spot's like $22 an ounce. Can I get some silver? Like, oh yeah, sure, we got silver, but it'll be actually a minimum. The lowest price we have is $29 per ounce. Like, what do you mean seven plus dollars over spot? Where do you get that number? Oh well, nobody can get physical silver right now. So what does it look like when this all blows up? I mean, do prices go sky high? Does the government start confiscating? I mean, this is going to be a big mess. Huh? What is it going to look like if you have any idea?
I mean, the best that I've been able to figure out in the past 12 years that I've been studying this is you're going to have an ending similar to the end of It's a Wonderful Life. People show up for the asset that's not there, and maybe your SLV shares will be trading at one price, but to actually get silver, as you just well pointed out, you've already seen the spreads diverge. That's why it's more expensive to get silver. That's why you hear the dealers come on, they're saying, hey, conditions are really tight. It's not that they're just jacking up premiums arbitrarily, but these are the signs, similar to like if you'd been studying Enron. There were people who were looking closely that knew it was a Ponzi scheme. And that's really how I've approached silver for the last 12 years, where you can see the ultimate ending. Now it's going to happen when it does. And certainly as silver investors, partly because there's so much corruption, it's hard to see it go on and fester for so long, yet in the end it'll happen when it does. And as someone who just sits there looking at the signs in a forensic manner, I mean, it's like they've turned the financial markets into a Bugs Bunny cartoon at this point, where Wednesday you even have the Fed say they're going to raise rates and the stock market still goes up, largely because you have exchange stabilization fund in there putting a lot of money. There's all sorts of unnatural things. The Fed governors all got caught front running their own policy. And Elizabeth Warren campaigns on it. She tells people how wrong it is. She makes speeches, and there's a big circus. Yet in the end, they're still doing the same thing. JP Morgan, they got caught they got caught years ago by anyone with common sense. Then they got caught. Bart Chilton, former commissioner, he revealed to the letter how fraudulent their activity was. That was 2019. Then later that year, they got fined $920 million. Yet they're still doing the same thing. So, like you've been pointing out in your intro and on your show, that's the challenging part, where we have a lack of a judicial system right now, but you can still, if you're looking at it as a poker player, you can still read the clues and make your best decisions, which I think certainly now is a time to be watching carefully.
And Chris, what is the motivation of this? And like you said, I've documented a lot of this market manipulation through my entire journalistic career. Some of the earliest articles I wrote were on how the Federal Reserve was rigging asset prices, not just in the metals, but I mean they were even buying stocks during the 2008 economic crisis, pumping and dumping. I mean, just unbelievable things, rigging all sorts of prices. But what's the motivation of suppressing the price of precious metals? Is this just to conceal the ongoing looting of people holding dollars, or is there something else, or multiple factors?
Alex, it's all of the above. It's the political stuff. It's stealing the money to go bomb foreign countries. It's funding, 35,000 troops that we have in Germany. Germany. Why? How much does that cost? I mean, all of this stuff. And then, of course, on the other hand, the banks are always happy to comply because they're making money, scaling it on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I find over the years, as I remember what I saw in the Godfather movies or Goodfellas, where you see, but rather as overt, now you just say, oh, well, the government said this, so we got to do it. Or we got to pay our taxes. And people don't even question it, but it really is like a mafia, because then you see Hank Paulson from Goldman Sachs goes into the Treasury Department right as the financial crisis was happening. And one of the interesting scenes from that movie, The Big Silver Short, the very end, Mark Baum, when he's on the rooftop, he's pointing out they knew all along they were going to get bailed out, so they could make these shitty bets. It's like giving, your credit card or your bank number to a drunken alcoholic gambler, sending him to Vegas. He knew he could do it. They knew where they were going to get bailed out. It's all, and Alex, you you detail how planned and orchestrated so many of the events we've experienced in our lives really are. Whether it's September 11th or weapons of mass destruction. I mean, they had a damn Illuminati card game where people made cards, and it's like it's a sport to some people. Yet at the end of it, what led me to silver was saying, all right, well, after the housing bubble unfolded, and I'm sitting on a trading floor, I just finished Wharton MBA, working trading options, and I'm thinking there's something that didn't add up. I didn't see this coming. Yet everyone I did was talking about the Fed's printing. They were talking about gold and silver, which all made sense. And then when you eventually figure out, hey, these guys are printing a lot of money, and the dollar was just supposed to be a measure of gold. If you like gold, then silver is kind of gold on steroids. And I think we're reaching the point where, especially with silver, because so much of it is consumed, we're at the break point, it seems. We're very, very close.
Yeah. So we've only got a few minutes left, Chris. So I want to ask you a double-barreled question. We obviously have a systemic problem. They all blabber about systemic racism, systemic injustice, systemic this. We have a systemic problem when it comes to the monetary system. It's rigged. It's rigged against the average American. It's rigged against the middle class. It's rigged against small business. And it's rigged in favor of the elites and the bankers and the Wall Street cabal. So, one, what is the solution at a systemic level? I mean, is there any way to bring some sanity back into the economy, starting at the most fundamental level, the monetary level? And two, what is the solution for individual investors who are looking at this fiasco? They're seeing the value of their dollar just being absolutely decimated. They're seeing taxes on inflation, right? Oh, my assets went up by 100%. Well, the value of your money also collapsed, and so you didn't even really get any actual appreciation, and yet they're still going to tax you on that. Is there any solution for investors who are trying to salvage and protect a little bit of their hard-earned wealth here?
Absolutely. And even before whether there's a financial solution, I think it's more a mindset that I found helpful to learn since leaving Wall Street. For me, silver was a solution. And the fact that they're suppressing the price, well, I guess the benefit to that is still cheap, in my opinion. I mean, anybody who's investing, you're going to have to decide for yourself what's right. But silver can be one form for people who understand the risks and what's going on there. But Alex, like you pointed out, whether it's buying products that aren't funded by one of these corporations that gets involved in some of those trials, and we see the money flows. I find if you just interact with good people and you stop feeling a need, you don't have to put your money in a JP Morgan bank. And in fact, if you think of Wall Street kind of like, it's like a Ponzi scheme, like Bernie Madoff. But once the customers pull their money out, you wait and see how quickly it collapses. Once you stop watching the commercials on NBC, ABC, these corporations that don't give you a full story of the things that are happening, or support candidates who go on C-SPAN and act incredibly inappropriate with children and then later become presidents or act as presidents. I can't tell sometimes, but here I'm fortunate. I had the ability to get somewhere. I actually felt safer for myself as someone who has caught the CFTC on record. Even the regulators got caught tamping down the silver price. His words, not mine. So I came down here. I'm in Mexico now. I don't interact with dollars too often. So I don't have to interact, and that's not that people have to leave the country, or everyone's situation is different, but finding ways, watching you rather than CNN. I think that's, and it just can be on those small level, when you start thinking and just being conscious of your decisions, you start doing that and the rest will fall into place quickly, is what I found.
Awesome. Well, Chris, before we let you go, please give us your website once again, and also your book, the Big Short. How do we get copies of the book, and what's the best way for people to follow your work, to watch your show, and to keep track of what you're up to?
Well, you can just go to arcadiaeconomics.com, the book, The Big Silver Short. Now, Alex, I didn't write The Big Short, but
The Big Silver Short, that's right.
I read of that back 10 years ago, and I was thinking, this is like the second part of this unfolding. It's almost the same thing, but this time, instead of mortgages going down, you're going to have, in my opinion, silver go up, but not in a slow fashion. It's like the suppressed beach ball underwater. So my book is The Big Silver Short. And you can find that. Also, the show I do on YouTube. It's all at arcadiaeconomics.com. And if people are interested in silver and understanding what's going on, how these different cons are used to influence investors, and how you can really read through that and use it to your advantage, that's what I educate people on, and at least do my best to. And, and I think it's an important time for people to be aware of what's happening.
Excellent. Well, Chris, I want to thank you so much for all the great work that you've done. Thank you for sharing your insight with us. We'll be sure to have you back very soon. Enjoy Mexico, my friend. I've spent more time living in Mexico than any other place in the world. So, viva Mexico. Thanks for coming on. God bless you, Chris, and we'll talk to you soon.
Adios, muchacho. Gracias.
All right, folks. That was Chris Marcus, ArcadiaEconomics.com. Go check it out.
So that is tonight's episode of the show. In this New Year's Eve holiday week, hope you all had a great holiday in the Christmas season so far, are staying safe and healthy out there, getting ready for a New Year's Eve celebration. Although before we wrap up today, one thing I wanted to share, a couple of people have pointed this out recently, and it's not necessarily a new clip, but since we have not covered it here, I thought I would share it because Alex Jones of the very popular InfoWars show has also been talking about silver manipulation. And since a lot of people have been sharing this, let's take a quick listen at what he had to say.
GameStop scares the system for a much bigger reason. It is a relatively small stock, and it's already caused tens of billions of dollars of loss by these hedge funds that were planning to bankrupt it. If the people on Reddit and on Facebook and across the world ever realize what's happening with silver, and they are realizing it, it's game over for the globalists. They are trading hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Usually it's about 200 times the amount of paper silver that there actually is real silver in the world. And they use that to manipulate the price and hold it down anytime it starts going up, because then they can dump limited amounts of their paper silver, and it creates the illusion that silver actually doesn't have value, when really silver is hundreds of times more valued than what it really is. You understand? It's a real, tangible commodity that's used in construction, that's used in electronics, that's used in microchips. It's been valued for over 6,000 years. Again, silver is the number one target to bring down these criminals and to expose the fact that the whole system's a fraud, because they are leveraging 100, 200, 300, sometimes 400 or 500 times more silver paper in the market to suppress the value of silver, to basically short it, and then make billions and billions of dollars every month doing it. So if that gets exposed, that they're engaged in basically fractional reserve banking manipulation of silver, it's game over. This is the Achilles heel. It's the soft underbelly. It is the kill shot. It is the target politically to expose these criminals.
So there you heard it from Alex. And since several people have emailed me or commented on Twitter about getting him on my show or suggesting me as a guest on his show, I did want to let you know that in the description field below, have provided the link. You can just click there. And if you'd like to request me as a guest on the Alex Jones show, that's how you can do that. I did send him a message today inviting him onto my show to talk about silver manipulation. And to make it even easier, I even wrote out a small brief email that you could just copy and paste into what's on your mind field if you would like to see us discuss silver. So with that said, go click the link in the description field below, and I'll see you again tomorrow.